It's about creating product that's a market fit at the time of when it's going to be sold.
What works in Melbourne and Sydney doesn't necessarily work up here.
Asking ourselves, how do we add value to developers outside the traditional sales and marketing functions?
We launched that and sold 65% of it in the first 8 weeks.
The Gold Coast is 30% undersupplied.
So long term, over the next couple of decades, it's probably going to be the best performing city in the country.
K Property Insights, we sort of asked ourselves, how do we add value to developers outside of sales and marketing?
Designing the right product for the right location and then figuring out early in the piece whether or not that's actually going to be feasible.
The motivation or the idea behind creating this end-to-end solution is essentially to make it as easy as possible for developers to make informed decisions, but essentially do more with less.
The key fundamentals of positioning us for a really strong run.
Welcome to our first episode of K Property Insights. I'm Jamie Harrison, Head of Kollosche New Projects. We're looking to create quarterly reports to allow you to do more with less and make informed decisions when developing on the Gold Coast. Today, I'm here with Michael Kollosche. Michael, obviously we've spent a lot of time understanding how we can sort of provide additional value to developers and particularly coming into this changing market. Can you tell us a little bit just about part of your vision behind what we're building and where you feel that those areas are going to support our clients moving forward?
Yeah, look, I think obviously with our whole business, we've tried to figure out how to vertically integrate every component of it so that we can support our clients and the market better. I think it's very similar to the way we rolled out our residential division. We just started with the end in mind. What did we want it to look like? What is our goal? And how quickly can we get there? And so with the K Insights and the new projects division, it's just another extension of that in the fact that we've looked at the landscape, found where the issues are, the gaps, what we can do to better support clients in order to deliver product to the market that will allow us to optimize their revenue and keep a strong sales rate, but also deliver product that the market wants. So.
Yeah, and I know, obviously it's been sort of a long time in the making, but just asking ourselves, how do we add value to developers outside the traditional sales and marketing functions? Yep. Traditionally, a lot of agents get brought in at the tail end where they have no opportunity to influence the design, get involved with the consultants and really bring that sales seat to the table in the early stages where they can influence the outcome of the product coming out the other side.
And we've seen so many developments over the course of the last probably 3 or 4 years that have been shelved, haven't been able to be delivered simply because the architects, the developers, the designers, the town planners have gone and designed a product that they felt suited the site, but it wasn't necessarily what the market was looking for, or it just missed the mark on so many things, whether it be finishes, whether it be functionality, whether it be the right product mix for that property. So what we would like to do is obviously help them earlier in the piece to deliver a product that we know the market's going to receive well, and then obviously helps them optimize the product there and the site. So yeah. So it's been really important. That's been a big focus of it, and why we've also then developed K Insights.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just to your point, it's about creating product that's a market fit at the time of when it's going to be sold. A lot of these DAs, they got held up in council, or they thought they were going to get turned around a lot quicker. They got held up for 12 or 18 months, the market slightly pivoted, and then they've got a product or a DA that may be slightly off. And then obviously you've got pressure with the construction base obviously increasing. So then that obviously compounds, and so they need to be able to do sort of more with what they've got. And that's part of the reason why we're investing so heavily in providing, interstate developers and also local developers with more of that local knowledge.
Yeah, and I think now that we're starting to see so many developers move up from Melbourne, Sydney, and start to stretch their operations into the Gold Coast, and I guess as a city we've matured, so they can now see that we're less susceptible to a boom bust environment, and there's real depth to the market. It's being able to educate them on what they need to deliver, because what works in Melbourne and Sydney doesn't necessarily work up here, and we've seen that time and time again. So by providing this service end to end, we can ultimately help them avoid any of the pitfalls, and then, yeah, as I said, it'll deliver a product that we can sell very quickly and maximise their returns and their yield.
Yeah, absolutely. And just touching on that, with our market being such a large sort of downsizer market now, the appetite for residential only boutique buildings is certainly becoming something that I know we're both getting a lot of feedback on. People don't want to be in the big super towers of hundreds and hundreds of apartments. They want something small. They want certain levels of quality. They want storage. They want side-by-side car parks. What's sort of in your opinions, what are some of those other attributes that you feel we're able to add that additional level of value by providing that they tick certain boxes for certain product types?
Yeah, look, I think it's really important that the product they build is based on the location and the site. So obviously we have a real focus on A-grade sites, A-grade locations, and I'm a firm believer that you can't overcapitalise in the right location. Provided you deliver the right level of quality and the right product, there is a market there that will set new benchmarks and new price records. But ultimately, too many people are looking at it on a cost management point of view and then not engaging the right people early on to provide that advice. Versus if you're building an investor type product, then in a B grade location, then you need to deliver it accordingly. And look, there's just some sites that I would encourage developers not to even go near, and that's where you've got significantly compromised view corridors, or if you are going to go near those, you just need to understand that it's going to be affected by price and it's also going to be affected by a sales rate. So, and then you've got to deliver the amenity and the product accordingly. So, I think where we can assist and support them, like some of the new product we're developing now, the developers of Ari in Main Beach, so it's a classic example. We put that site together last year. Took us 8 months. The acquisition was about 31.6. They came in with a very consultative approach. It wasn't, this is what we do in Melbourne and this is what works down there and this is what we're going to do up there. It was, okay, what type of product do we need to build? What size does it need to be? What is the product mix? What level of finish? How many car parks? What amenity? And so we worked through that, and they adopted all of those things, and ultimately we launched that and sold 65% of it in the first 8 weeks. So at quite substantial prices and a high square metre rate compared to comparable product in the area. So it's been really well received because that's the downsizer market that we knew exactly what they want.
And I think also just following on from that, it's also understanding what the buyer profile is for the product you're looking to build. Where are they coming from? What additional levels of amenity are they? Is it a health and wellness focus with magnesium pools and hot and cold plunge pools? Is it that they need additional storage because they're downsizing from a 5-bedroom home and they still have bits and pieces that they don't want to do a complete clear out of? So just really understanding how we can match the right product to the right buyer type. And as we've seen, buyers will pay a premium providing you're delivering a solution that ticks all their boxes.
Yeah, and I think it's also being able to advise developers and funders that super towers in the current environment are not going to work. You may be able to sell them, but if you can't deliver them or build them, then because of the limited amount of builders in the construction market here, then it's obviously not the right focus. And some of those sites probably need to be shelved and wait for another cycle or until things change. So we're sitting in a market at the moment where you've got $66 billion worth of public infrastructure works in southeast Queensland between now and 2032 that are taking up a large portion of the construction market. And you've also got a lot of builders and like the likes of Hutchies and Multiplex and all those that through COVID experienced enormous growth in labour costs and materials. So a lot of their profits were eroded on sites that they were working on because they were committed to pre-COVID pricing, or they weren't able to keep up with cost escalation. So now you can understand why a lot of those builders are sort of moving across and taking government work that is being contracted at significantly higher prices and guaranteed payments, and gives them the opportunity to make up a lot of the losses that they might have previously suffered. So what happens there is you then see a lack of builders for tier one projects. Once you start to get over the $100 million plus builds, you've got limited amount of choices, and so ultimately it's only going to be the most experienced developers that have big balance sheets that can deliver that. And if you're getting to $400-500 million builds, well, you're really going to struggle in the current climate to to get builders appointed unless they're coming from interstate.
Yeah, and then that comes with another whole range of issues and subbies and everything else that it comes with not having sort of those local relationships.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot there that, from our perspective, it's important for us, for the clients, for the developers, the ultimate buyers, and everyone in the ecosystem, that we're providing all of the information to allow people to make an informed decision up front.
Yeah.
And there's certain things right now that the market wants, that there's depth in the market for, and that there's second tier builders that can deliver it because they're sub $100 million builds or sub $50 million builds, and if we put a lot more focus into that, then ultimately everyone's going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And based on your knowledge of the market, what are some key things that you're seeing that you feel that developers should sort of err on the side of caution in terms of car parking solutions or like you mentioned about cost managing? We understand that people are getting squeezed at all angles. Sometimes taking things out to reduce cost versus looking at how you can add an extra level of finish or pioneer on what you're offering to then pioneer on price. So what are some of the things that you're seeing some developers should be careful of, and what are some of the things that you're seeing and where some of the really educated guys are taking the punt, a measured approach, and looking to really pioneer sales rates as we move forward?
Yeah, look, I think it comes back to things like car lifts and car stackers in the Gold Coast market. They're just not well received, and I don't think the market is mature enough to require or allow those to be utilised readily in projects. You're going to get a lot of pushback on them, and it's going to impact on your overall rate per square metre.
Yeah.
Some of the layouts, designs, functionality. In these permanent residential buildings, there's size, there's multiple living areas, there's storage, there's a certain number of car parking that is a huge requirement to maximise your return and your GR. So there's a lot of stuff there that we can work with people on to ensure that they're delivering the right product.
Yeah. And I know you and I have done a lot of work on sort of reverse engineering what does the perfect development look like and what's included in that. What tech can we include to make living easier and make it a better experience at home? What's the level of finishes? How can we add additional levels of finish, or whether it be materials or functionality? You mentioned around functionality of floor plans. Getting really good size, whether it be bedrooms, bathrooms, do we have studies? Are they connected to living areas, or are they tucked in the back corner because it's just dead space and the architect just, allocates a function to it? So I know, so for anybody else that would, like to discuss further with us on what we believe is required, we've certainly done a lot of that legwork in advance to make it really easy for people to sit down with their consultants and I guess get a competitive advantage in the market.
Yeah, definitely, of course. And we're seeing, we're spending a lot of time with developers now just to really position the product that they deliver for the market demand. And so that's been a big part of our focus and will continue to be.
Yeah. And I think just touching on, obviously the ability to deliver projects at the moment is a really contentious issue. The builders are literally working with people that they deem of value to them down the future or who are easy to work with. What's your opinion on builds that looking at how can we design a building that's efficient to build so you're more attractive to builders, or they're not, putting an additional premium on the price because you've got, different transfer slabs and different cores in different spots? And so what's some of the advice around consulting with planners and architects to design buildings that are really efficient so that you allow your building to be more attractive from a build and obviously more competitive on the overall price?
Yeah, look, that's obviously a leading question. So I think that anyone that's embarking on significant investment into delivering some of these sort of mid-level towers and some of these premium developments, they need to involve all of these consultants early, and they actually need to work hand in glove. You can't just go to one and say, deliver a building that looks pretty and what you think needs to go in there when they don't understand the market demand or how do I maximize this site and get every square inch of building component to it, or without actually sitting down and then looking at the construction side of it and how you deliver something that it might be a little bit more effective, or some of the stuff that we've looked at where basements are just really underutilized and the core's wrong and in the wrong location and the efficiencies are terrible. So a lot of this stuff and K Insights has been around how do we deliver that to the market and how do we connect the right people as well as what we've got internally. Our whole team now, we've obviously got K Insights, Kollosche New Projects, our commercial division that's there from the acquisition. We've got our separate media agency that's there to support everyone in delivering all of the assets that are required to market these. So there's a whole suite of separate businesses that have all come together under the one umbrella with strong skill sets in their own areas to communicate efficiently and deliver something that the market wants at an efficient price point. So.
The motivation or the idea behind creating this end-to-end solution is essentially to make it as easy as possible for developers to make informed decisions, but essentially do more with less. We want to allow them to do more projects in a shorter space of time, sell them out quicker, get funding vehicles set earlier to buy the next site so that they can do maybe 2 or 3 projects in 5 or 6 years rather than potentially one with a whole lot of hiccups.
Yep, and that's obviously leading into, we're setting up a K advisory business as well at the moment, and so their component will be to have a team of development managers in-house that can actually help us reposition various projects. So certain feasibilities that don't work or don't stack. At the moment, we've seen a lot of people go and purchase sites, design buildings, and now they're realizing that they can't deliver them. They've got their construction costs. They're going to go underwater, so they're trying to sell the sites with the margin that they were hoping to make out of the build, and it's all going to sit there and get stale, rather than going, okay, how do we redesign this now and reposition this asset to deliver something that will work, as opposed to flooding the market with sites that don't work and hoping that someone's going to come and buy them because it's obviously nonsensical.
Yeah, and I think leading on to that, despite a few of the headwinds in the market at the moment, as we've recently discovered, the Gold Coast is 30% undersupplied from new dwelling approvals to the net population growth numbers that are here. So that's a massive number, and I think that provides a lot of developers a lot of confidence in why we're seeing so much interstate interest sort of migrating here to get their slice of the Gold Coast pie. So the opportunity is there for those that can create the right product, can listen to the right advice, can tick all the boxes and potentially avoid being stuck with a site that just ends up costing them money, and then the only one who makes money out of it is the funder at the end of the day.
Yeah, and look, obviously there is considerable demand for it. And I'm even looking at markets at the moment, like you can look at Sydney markets and they're selling apartments down there for $100,000 a square metre. Yeah. So to tell us that you can't go and create a product here that you can get 30 or 35 for, if you actually put in everything that the consumer wants, I think it's possible, and I think you can forge ahead, but you need to have the right locations. You can't be renting your views. You need to be in a premium area. You need the right amenity. You need the right ceiling heights. You need the right car parking. You need the right finishes. So it's there's a lot to it that people just need to be advised on, and then they can make commercial decisions on how to maximise that. K Insights has sort of developed. It's a bit of your brainchild on how to tie in our overall vision. What can someone expect to get from K Insights? Where does the data come from? How's it going to help them and support them? And why should they subscribe to it?
K Property Insights, we've partnered with the veteran sort of property economist Michael Kollosche, or property researcher, who many of the viewers will probably be familiar with. And what we really wanted to do is create a platform where we can provide data-backed decisions. So, it's looking at a lot of spreadsheets, it's looking at census data, it's looking at a lot of sales rates, it's looking at a lot of various different sources, and then coming up with an understanding of what the data is telling us, essentially so that we can provide developers with a platform to make the best decisions for the future based on what trends they're identifying now, and then where we think the market will be and where that opportunity is. So with Insights, we sort of asked ourselves, how do we add value to developers outside of sales and marketing? And we believe that empowering developers with the data to make those most informed decisions at the early infancy stage of the process, we believe is what's going to set them up for success, and where we feel that real opportunity currently lies.
So it's about designing the right product for the right location and then figuring out early in the piece whether or not that's actually going to be feasible.
Yeah, and that might be product mix, it might be car parking, it might be amenity, it might be what's included in fixtures and finishes, it might be functionality based on the buyer profiles. Are they luxury homeowners? Are they looking for hybrid holiday homes? Is it what's the use? So that we can design product that's going to cater for that not only today, but also into the future.
Yep.
Touching on the economic outlook of the Gold Coast and ultimately where the opportunity lies for developers is, obviously you touched on, we've got $66 billion worth of infrastructure spend between now leading into the Brisbane Olympics, which is creating jobs, opportunity, and feeding all those subsidiary businesses that benefit from that. We've also got a massive aging population moving into retirement with the baby boomers downsizing. What impact do you think COVID had on people's abilities to make decisions and fast track their plans to probably enjoy themselves a little bit more and get out of the rat race a little sooner?
Look, it obviously shone a light on the Gold Coast and allowed a lot of the population that were previously probably travelling abroad to come back here and rekindle a relationship that they probably had with the Gold Coast in their youth or previous years. And for us, that's been fantastic, but it's also seen a massive spike in population growth, which has taken up all of the available supply in the market and now left us with a deficit. And it's becoming extremely difficult to keep up with the housing demand and the rental demand. So from an investment perspective, the Gold Coast market is extremely undervalued and undersupplied. So long term, over the next couple of decades, it's probably going to be the best performing city in the country. And so when you take those fundamentals, you look at an aging population wanting to either buy second homes up here or retire up here because of the climate, coupled with all of the infrastructure works, everything that's coming from the Olympics, it puts us in a pretty good position. And now it's just making sure that whoever is investing here can deliver the right product to maximise their returns. And so I'm pretty bullish on the market here. I've been doing this now for 25 years, and I never would have expected that we'd see the level of growth that we've had over the last 2 decades. But looking at the actual fundamentals now, the key fundamentals are positioning us for a really strong run. And if you can start to see that areas like Bondi are selling for 100,000 a square metre, and we're still sitting here at 22, 23, 25 in key locations, with a limited amount of supply that is undersupplied, then ultimately the next couple of decades here are going to be pretty impressive.
Touching on that as well, with that aging population coming to retirement, a lot of these people are purchasing with cash. I know PEXA did a bit of a study earlier in the year over the last sort of 6 months, and the large majority of settlements, say particularly in Broadbeach, I think Broadbeach was the highest number of cash settlements through this PEXA study period that they'd ever seen anywhere in the country. So,
So it was the 4218 and 4217 postcodes were the highest percentage by an enormous margin of people settling with cash. And that just shows you how mature the market has become here. And you look at all of the trophy residential assets and the permanent residential buildings that are just luxury high end, they're owned by people that can buy them many times over. So you're not seeing a lot of that product coming back to market. And if it does, people are having to pay significant premiums to get into it. So it just shows that the depth and the market dynamics have actually changed, and how important it is to now deliver a product that the market wants.
So Michael, obviously this is the first step in the journey. We've got a number of other areas that we're going to be looking to roll out and add that additional level of value. For anyone that would like a copy of the report, obviously they'll be looking to click the link either in the bio or the link below to download.
Yeah, look, obviously the future's pretty exciting, and I think what we've done here is just create the foundations to support clients, developers, architects, designers, town planners, all spheres there, and bring them all together to ensure we're delivering the right product. So you're going to roll these out regularly, and it'll give people all of that information, but ultimately they can click through and register to chat.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for your time.